All right, sincerely unqualified. I'm Kevin. Alongside me, as always, we have Winnie. Kind of a big announcement day today. Winnie, we're rebranding.
Very excited. We're pulling a big, rebrand campaign. We're sending it out onto the airwaves. We're moving into
Yeah.
the movie space.
Movie space, yeah. So, we're still a young podcast. I think that we were trying to figure out a way to establish our comedic voices, really just kind of gunning for jokes at some point, which was really fun. But we decided we didn't really want to be out in this weird world where we're just kind of touching on everything. We want to focus in on something. And honestly, I think it was right in front of our faces from the very start. Literally, our first episode, we had segments that were based on movies. We had two plots and a lie. We had plot twist. Those were a bunch of fun. And I think we just realized we love movies. We love talking about movies. There's a lot to talk about with them. And also we love comedies. So
yeah, it's combining best of both worlds here, honestly. And I'm very excited to get into it. I feel like we've kind of been talking about it in every single episode. Like I know last episode we went on a riff for probably 30 minutes just about horror movies. But now I feel like we can kind of just dive deeper into the movies we actually really love rather than touching on just the overlining topic of, movies and trying to weave our own comedic insights into it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's something important to note, that we're trying to start out specific. So we didn't directly say it, but we want to start focusing on comedy movies because if you've listened to this podcast, we love comedy. We love stand-up. We love every kind of form of comedy, as well as, like I just said, we love movies. We love TV. So what we want to do is start out this episode. We're going to give you our top 10 comedies of all time, best, favorite, however way you want to look at it. But from there, we're going to take those movies, and then in the next episodes, we're going to break them down. We're going to do whatever, honestly, we feel like with them. We might talk about what was improv, what our favorite lines were. Obviously, we're going to break down the plot and all that stuff. It's not going to be a regular review because you know us if you've been listening to this. We're kind of, let's say, movie guys. We're not film guys, but appreciate a nice film.
We're not bringing the film school aspects to this. We're definitely not going to highlight the cinematography of everything and tell you why, the indie films are so much better than the big pictures. We're going to look into everything and anything we love about these movies and what made them so fucking special. Because they all are. They're all insanely good.
Yeah. I mean, if they wouldn't be on our top 10 if they weren't, so.
Exactly. I mean, I hope not. We'll see. I guess you guys can judge how good our top 10s are.
It could be really bad. Yeah, no. So from there, we really can't make a firm statement on where we'll go. Maybe it'll be TV shows that are funny. Maybe it'll be comedy TV shows. Maybe it'll be another another genre of movies. Who knows? All we know is right now, we want to really focus on these comedy movies. We want to make it a really fun, entertaining time for all of you still. You're still going to get a lot of random banter. We're probably going to go on every riff that you can think of. But right now, rebranding Sincerely Unqualified as currently a comedy movie podcast.
We're the same people with different intentions.
We'll see, because it might just turn into a bunch of banter anyways.
Exactly. I think we both watched enough movies and TV to talk for countless episodes about anything. I mean, whether it's the specific details of anything. I mean, me and you were just talking before we even started recording, and both of us were just going back and forth, just talking about random quotes or random things about the movies, who's in the movies, what was like our favorite part, just things we quote to ourselves that nobody even knows when you say it out loud. Nobody even gets it. It's just like something that you've been, So it's a lot of fun.
Something I would definitely say is, obviously, we're unqualified. We didn't go to film school. We didn't go to NYU or USC to study film or anything. So
definitely not.
We are just people who really like movies. But at the same time, I would say I think we do look at things maybe a little more analytically than other people would in terms of maybe writing or acting, anything like that. I know me personally, I love when I hear good writing. Maybe I don't look at it too critically, especially because right now we're just talking about comedies. A good joke's a good joke. Everyone can appreciate a good joke. So we're not going to get too high on our horse here, but it should be a really good time.
No, but you can so tell the difference between something that's written really well and something that's just kind of like out of a Hallmark card. It's like,
Yeah,
they
course.
pulled that line from the "It's Your Birthday" section. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Did they got it from one of the audio recordings now that they're doing with those cards that cost $30. The happy birthday singing ones.
I don't understand who pays $30 for. Have you been in a Hallmark store recently? Because they're price gouging. They're price gouging.
Well, I mean, cards
not
in general are just
specifically
ridiculous.
Hallmark, but yeah, I'm saying in general. I mean, cards are getting to the point where it's like I'm just gonna start using printer paper and making my own like it's third grade.
Oh, that's so much better too. Like so one, I actually have to give a shout out quick here. Trader Joe's, great cards, 99 cents, not price gouging. Thank you, Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's sells cards?
Yeah, they sure do.
I guess it's like everything else in the store is a little bit overpriced. So they're like, you know what? Let's cut them a break.
See, I kind of disagree. I always figured that Trader Joe's would be overpriced. I always figured just because, kind of has that organic hippie vibe rolling around it, whatever, organic, all that stuff. I really don't think it is. I think it's actually very reasonably priced. And I think their cards are a testament to it. They also have what is it? $3 bottles of wine. I don't drink wine, but it's insane.
That can't really be safe for consumption. $3?
Probably sucks. Yeah.
I mean,
probably not good.
They take it straight from the Franzia boxes and just put it into bottles and put Trader Joe's on it.
You got to keep the margin somehow.
Repackage. See, we're doing that kind of rebrand. We're taking Franzia and putting it into a bottle now.
That's exactly what we are. We're Franzia bottles.
We're bottled Franzia.
Why listen to people that really know what they're talking about? Those people are boring. Talk to us. We'll talk about how Trader Joe's is affordable or if it's expensive.
Can you imagine Franzia, but it's in a Gatorade bottle? Just like one of the soccer bottles of Gatorade.
Are we Franzia in a Gatorade bottle, or are we like the Blue Wave in a Gatorade bottle? Because it kind of looks like the blue Gatorade when you're in high school. might be able to get away with it because you don't want to dilute it when you're in high school. It's going to be passed around to 20. Yeah. Not that I drank in high school, but when you're going to pass it around to your whole friend group, you just want
cool
liquor.
Guy.
Cool guy, Kev.
I mean, you absolutely want as much liquor as you can get in there, and that's why the water bottle is always a solid move. But if you're going to, I feel like whiskey in an iced tea bottle was always consistently great.
See, maybe I just we were too cheap to get whiskey, even if it was like shitty whiskey.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know anyone that was like, hey, let's just get whiskey and put it in an iced tea bottle.
Well, see, that's the thing. It wasn't let's get it because it was like early on. So it was, hey, what can we steal and how can we conceal this?
No, that's smart. No, I'm honestly just impressed
because I haven't heard of it from the store, but
for some reason when you were talking about that, not for some reason because we were literally just talking about it, but it has to be the worst feeling the morning after you wake up, go to reach for a water bottle, and you take a swig of vodka. Oh,
how often have you done that?
Not all the time. I honestly think it only happened once.
Not all the time.
It actually just happened yesterday, day before that.
Damn. Again?
Last week.
Yeah.
Not again.
Fucking thought we did this again.
I'm saying that was a high school move. That was, people brought in the bottles, so you weren't sure which was which. And if you were hungover and you woke up, just reached, grabbed water, and then,
that dry mouth in the morning just helped me. Literally just looking like SpongeBob when he's in Sandy's house. Help me.
I need it. That might be the worst surprise that could ever exist. I can't think of anything worse.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I can, but I don't really want to throw that out there.
Let's hear it.
I think an unplanned child is a little bit worse than sipping a little vodka in the morning.
Look,
one of them lasts for 18
like that.
seconds.
one of them lasts for 18 years, you were going to say?
No, I was gonna say forever.
Oh,
I was
no, you
thinking
can just kick them to the curb
18 years.
once they turn 18. Come
Yeah,
on.
I mean, that's it. I mean, you realistic.
And we're supposed to be here anyways. No point in keeping them around.
Exactly. What are they gonna do? Somebody said recently, like, kids are good for a few birthday gifts. And it's like you have a kid, they're good for a few birthday gifts and some happy birthday texts through the years. And you give them everything.
Before they have jobs and like they're young, the birthday gifts are just bought with money that you give them. So
exactly.
It's not like it's an actual birthday gift.
You literally give them money and they're like, hey, I got you this. It's like, I know. I funded the expedition. I had to drive you to pick it up for me. Like,
you tried to hide it from me, but you really weren't good at it. You're an idiot.
And you still bought the wrong size. Like, I was with you.
But again, we're gonna riff. We're gonna talk movies.
Do you want to go right into it? To movies? You want to go into?
I think we should.
The top 10 after we talk about a little Trader Joe's. Let's give our. Let's start it. Let's get it out. Let's get it going. You want to go first, or you want to do back and forth?
Let's do back and forth. We'll start at 10.
All right. You want to start at 10? Okay.
Yeah, I want to go 10 to 1. 10 to 1.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So my number 10, I actually don't think is on your list. We sent each other our list before. I honestly kind of forget it though. My number 10 is Pineapple Express. So yeah, you know what's funny is because it kind of is a stoner comedy. Obviously, it's all about weed, but it's not a true stoner comedy. Like, there's no cheap comedy in it. The writing's all fantastic. You have Seth Rogen. You have James Franco. It's all incredible acting. It's a quality movie. It's all about weed, which is just funny. Also, underrated in the beginning is Bill Hader's intro scene when they're testing it with the FBI. You remember that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just watched it like I'd say a month ago. He's just in the room, just like smoking weed. He's like, boom, 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 boom. He was the perfect person for that role. Yeah.
Oh, he was incredible. That's what I mean. When you have that good of a cast and you have that good of, well, I guess like total cast just around it, like that whole group is fantastic. You can just throw Bill Hader in for a quick cameo. That's all you need.
I feel like that was one of that, I feel like there's kind of a comedy ensemble that rolls together a little bit that started in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. And I feel like this was the first time we actually saw Seth Rogen and James Franco working together so much.
Yeah, I think it was. And honestly, I think we're probably going to talk about the ensemble cast again.
And I mean, honestly, I think that was them breaking into the world of bringing, it's almost like you can make a movie with your friends and it's not going to suck.
Yeah.
Because Craig Robinson was in that too. And Danny McBride was in it. Like, they're the guys chasing after them the whole time. Just having those two guys even in it, just bringing them in. It's just an unreal cast that comes together, and nothing is cheap. No jokes are easy. He's dating a high schooler in the beginning. Like, that in itself, I was just dying laughing at.
Yeah, it's all the Judd Apatow movies. It's like that whole crew that just rolls together has fantastic chemistry because they started from Freaks and Geeks back in, I think.
Yeah.
It might be the late 90s. I kind of forget. I think it was probably earlier than that. I mean, like in the 2000s. But, that whole, again, we're definitely going to talk about it. I just took a peek at my top 10 to remind myself.
Isn't it funny, too, that Judd Apatow kind of came up with, like, the whole Sandler crew a little bit? But veered away from them almost in the movie. So Adam Sandler has his ensemble. Mm-hmm. And then Judd Apatow almost went off and created his own world where he makes these movies. And he veered off completely from that group. It's like he lived with Adam Sandler. They were literally roommates.
Yeah, they lived together for a while.
Off. Yeah, literally. And it's wild that they just had such separate paths, but they're such, they both created so many great movies.
Yeah, and when Sandler got the role in SNL, he moved from LA to New York, obviously, and Apatow had to get a new place, but he literally got a new place with a bedroom for Sandler just to crash. like, sure, they were working together, but they weren't making movies together. They were doing their own thing.
Yeah.
They were just such good buddies. And then a movie that's not in my top 10, or I actually kind of forgot about it to put in my honorable mentions. Like, so you were saying they had their own groups, and then they only linked up for Funny People, which I think was like 2010 or something. Like a
That was
while
later
after
down
they
the
lived
line.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe between
But that
2010
gave
and
us
2015.
so
Probably.
much more. That gave us so much more, because imagine if they had worked together. Number one, I feel like their styles are very different.
Yeah.
In a way that, not that Judd's movies are more serious, but they're more like, there's this clear difference between, if you look at Pineapple Express and then you look at like
Billy Madison.
Billy Madison.
Well, so like, and any of the Happy Madison movies, they just, like you said, everyone has a certain vibe to it. I think a word I would put it as, or that Judd Apatow movies are more cinematic. I think they have, in my opinion,
stick to that common script
of stories. Yeah. They're sure they're all the same, but also, I think I don't want to put Happy Madison down, because honestly,
no, I'm not at all. I love
top
those
10
movies.
either. And I have a lot of Apatow movies in my top 10. So that's just like where, and again, especially when you talk about it with comedy, I think that you can look at a lot of movies objectively and look at if they're good or your favorite. And I think that's different. In terms of what I like in my comedies, good and my favorite are synonymous. So I like I tend to veer more towards the Apatow movies, even though I can watch a Happy Madison movie and think it's hilarious. It's my comedic preference.
Exactly. And I feel the same way. I feel like there's, like, I'll turn on a Happy Madison movie at any point and I'll love it. But there's a point where I feel like we kind of grew up with the Happy Madison movies, and then almost, I wouldn't say graduated to the Apatow movies, but we almost moved into a sense where our comedic preference got a little bit more, like, we were looking for a little bit more than because I feel like the jokes in Happy Madison movies are more out there. Whereas if you're looking at an Apatow movie, they're more understated and it's kind of more deadpan comedy, where the Sandler movies are less deadpan.
Yeah, I wonder if a lot of people our age feel the same way, because I think that might be exactly how we grew up. When we were really young, we had the Adam Sandler movies around. Our parents showed us Happy Gilmore. They showed us Billy Madison.
The Water Boy,
and it's hilarious, but it's kind of always based on a goofy character. That's probably it, actually.
Or a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kind of psyche, where it was like, that's hilarious.
And then once we got the Judd Apatow movies and we really liked those, we looked back on those ones and thought of it as cheap comedy, just because the characters were quirkier, because they were in a more outlandish situation than
Exactly.
a more
They're
grounded
more
Judd
overstated
Apatow movie.
than like the Apatow movies, because I feel like, not to say that the Happy Madison movies aren't based in reality, they are. But the characters in them are more overstated and out there than if you're watching an Apatow movie, because those characters are generally like, you feel like you could meet them on the street.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge difference between them, is that Apatow kind of put himself in the movies, and I'm reading that book I think I mentioned last episode, and you can tell that's what he really wanted to do. He really wanted to put himself in the movies, like Freaks and Geeks. He saw it, and he was like, the big reason that it was a success, even though it wasn't, because it got canceled after one season, but the real reason that people really resonate with it is because you had high school TV shows and whatever, and everyone was just unrealistic, and they were really, really pretty and everything. It was the first time someone was like, no, this isn't actually how things are. This is how normal people are. And I think that's
more real.
And I don't think that necessarily that's the difference between Happy Madison and Judd Apatow, but that's just a testament to how Judd Apatow's movies are.
Exactly. Now, they're all incredible. I mean,
so that was a long one for number 10.
So I'll go. My number 10 is a little bit on a different note. With number 10 for me is just a long-standing classic. It's The Princess Bride.
Very quotable movie.
Kev noted before that he has not seen this movie, and I think it is an atrocity and a sin, and I could not bring it up because that movie is just, it's almost perfect.
Yeah.
Just in a way that can't be matched.
So my comment on that is that there are definitely blind spots in my movie watching history. I'll admit that, hands up, that's on me. But I do know it well enough just from the general zeitgeist to know that's a good pick. I'm happy with the pick.
Okay, so it's like Billy Crystal's in it. He's like this alchemist wizard kind of guy. Andre the Giant's in it. It's just, there's so many. It's from 1987, and you just it holds up to this day, and you don't think it would because it almost seems at first like it's a silly kind of kids movie, but just the amount of kind of I don't know. There's just something special about it where I can watch it as many times as I want. I watched it when I was 7, and I watch it now, and my dad still watches it, and it just holds up so well, and you could watch it as many times as you want, and it never gets old. And it's just like, I'm Inigo Montoya who killed my father, prepared to die, the whole thing. And then Inconceivable from it. It's just, it lasts. It's got quotes on quotes on quotes. You can't beat it. It's got to be mentioned.
Yeah, no, and that whole thing about it holding up, and you think it's a children's movie, but it's not. I've heard all of that, which makes it even more impressive before watching it. But I'm definitely very excited to watch it because that's honestly something I've just been meaning to watch, and now I'll have a reason to watch it when we deep dive into it.
Now you have to.
Yeah.
You're contractually obligated to watch The Princess Bride, and honestly, it's a great watch.
Oh, no, dude, I'm telling you, I'm so excited. And also, we could have some more meaningful conversation about that then. I don't want to leave you out to dry, so I'll move on to our number 9s here. My number 9, I think you've definitely seen. A lot of people our age. I think if you didn't watch it when you were our age, you could potentially think it was just a ridiculously stupid movie, but I think it is an absolute masterpiece, and that is Hot Rod. Andy Samberg, Bill Murray.
God.
Or not Bill Murray.
The opening scene is rivaled for one of the best opening scenes in a comedy movie I've ever seen in my life. Did you reinforce the takeoff ramp?
No, we didn't have any time. That whole movie, I don't know if everyone else was the same way, in which they had a certain movie when they were kids where like the neighborhood just watched it on it. Like it every single time you were hanging out, that was the movie to watch. Hot Rod, because I've seen it so many times, I'm probably, and I'm not even joking, back, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago or so, I could have recited the entire movie front to back. Like, the most quotable movie, in my opinion, and it's so good. Andy Samberg, I said Bill Murray before. Obviously, I meant Bill Hader.
Bill Hader is my favorite actor probably of all time. And the fact, like, just the part where he gets the nail in his head while he's cutting stuff while he's on acid.
He's on acid and he goes to the hospital. He's just super calm about it. Like, yeah, that whole, like, Danny McBride and then the rest of the Lonely Island guys too. It's just ridiculous how good.
Oh my God.
And Ian McShane.
The one guy who's in the pool and they're like, you got it out of the pool. He's like, make me. Just start.
Oh yeah.
There's that whole cutscene where he's dancing, throwing out flyers to everybody.
when it just comes to him and he's like, you like what you see?
It's an unreal movie.
There are certain little scenes like that in there that just are unmatched. And like something that should be so cheap, actually something that's cheap, admittedly kind of, but before that is fantastic, is when they spoof Footloose and he says, I need to go to my quiet place. And there's a whole dance scene that's actually like kind of well done. And then him falling off the mountain, that's the cheap part, but still, it's still
just falls
so
forever.
Funny. Yeah.
And then when he fights his dad is unreal. Will Arnett's in it too as the like convertible Corvette douchebag.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, is that Donnie?
Yeah. He's like,
what's good, Donnie? Come over here.
Babe, I owe you a shot in the nuts. Yeah, Will Arnett's fantastic in that too. Everyone's like at the top of their game in that movie for a movie that the funny thing is it deals with something that's pretty existential. Like it deals with something really heavy in the most ridiculous way possible. He's dealing with his stepdad dying and he needs to earn his respect. So he needs to do this crazy jump and he's a stuntman who needs to gain a lot of money but can't. I mean, it is a masterclass of just goofy comedy, but that's done so well.
So well. I can't get enough of that movie. I could watch that on end.
It's so rewatchable. So rewatchable.
Oh, yeah. Just showing people the intro is enough to just be like, all right, you should watch this movie.
Yeah. And honestly, that I feel like it encapsulates.
Well, we're doing it again.
My goodness, I can't think of words sometimes.
Encapsulates?
Yeah, I got it right before you said that, by the way.
Uh-huh.
It encapsulates.
Got it.
Really the entire essence of the movie, though. That whole scene in the beginning is just pure hot rod.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of goofy, like the ramp breaks, but then you have really good dialogue right after. And then Rod pukes, which is just, again, there's, as much as I'll probably talk about writing for the rest of my top 10 to be like, it's so clever, it's so this, there are certain comedies where you just turn your brain off and you just enjoy. And that's the best of it.
That's one of them. I'm going to go right into here for my number 9. My number 9 is a little different. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Which I'm
not gonna lie. When he sent me his list before, it floored me that this was on his list because I've only seen this once and I saw it when it was in theaters, so I was super young. So I don't have a good pulse on this movie, but I just assumed the rest of Winnie's list wasn't good because I saw that movie and I was like, what are you doing, man? But
you have to let me
hear him out.
Let me explain.
Let him explain.
The fact that it's in my top 10 is there's a multitude of reasons. Number one, the fact that Alan Rickman, who played Professor Snape in the Harry Potter movies, plays a severely depressed robot throughout the whole movie.
He also plays the bad guy in
unbelievable. Exactly. It's unbelievable. Just the lines that come out of this robot's mouth. He's walking through a minefield. He's like, I don't even care. It's like just such a shot in the dark from where, you look at a Star Wars and it's like, okay, C-3PO has some quips. But then you go to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's just a robot who constantly wants to off himself. I just think that the concept
it sounds
of that
fantastic.
Is so funny. There's Martin Freeman, who is like, he was in Sherlock. He was in Fargo. He's in so many great things. He's at his prime. He's in this movie. It's Zooey Deschanel, Sam Rockwell. I mean, the cast is unreal. And it's literally a movie about Earth being destroyed. And the aliens in it are so absurdly over the top, just like, they look like giant toads with guns. The whole thing for me just comes together so perfectly, and there's so many good lines in it that it just makes sense. I mean,
yeah, this is another one I'm very excited to watch because you have me sold on it right there that it actually is a decent movie. I just thought it was a goofy kids movie, so it has since escaped my mind until I just read it on your top 10 list. sitting at number 9.
Yeah. I don't know. I loved it. And, you can have your opinions about it, but I think there's aspects of it that just hold up.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on, I have my number 8. I'll give it to Old School. So Old School, just an absolute classic. You have Will Ferrell, Luke Wilson, Vince Vaughn, like everyone. And like Jeremy Piven. The cast is unreal. The premise is great, and there's so many little bits in it that I love. Like my favorite bit of the entire movie has to be when Will Ferrell is singing "Dust in the Wind" by Kansas at Blue's funeral. It's just hilarious. I mean, in my opinion, I think a lot of people put up against old school, or they put old school and um
What are you thinking? I'm thinking everything that comes to my mind. Another great movie is Accepted that comes to mind.
oh wow,
Yeah,
accepted. No, I don't
Accepted
put those two
comes
in
to
the same
mind when I
category.
think. No, not in the same category. It's just it just comes to mind when I think old school. It's just like it. I don't know that. I also think
Yeah,
that that's a great movie. Doesn't make the top 10, but thought I'd mention it because that movie is also in its own right hilarious.
yeah. No, I mean that's also a very good movie. I agree. That should get an honorable mention. But what
The
I was
issue with
thinking
me in old
before.
school is I haven't seen it in so long, and I feel like that's
Oh
almost. I feel like
yeah.
I like you with Hitchhikers and Princess Bride, very
Mhm.
different movies. But I need to rewatch Old School and get back into it because I
Yeah,
just
dude, I'm telling you, it is so worth a rewatch. I've seen that one enough that I probably haven't seen it in a while either. But also the movie I was thinking of before was Wedding Crashers. I
oh yeah,
think
so
a
good.
lot of people would probably put Wedding Crashers over Old School, which I think there is a case for. Wedding Crashers gets an honorable mention for me right now, absolutely. But I actually think Old School is better, just in terms of what I remember from the movies. I think that
Yeah,
there are so many just fantastic parts, fantastic lines. Like Sean William Scott Stifler is this
he's so good.
yeah, he has a petting
He's
zoo
coming up
and
again in
he
my list.
shrinks Will Ferrell. And then Will Ferrell's about to fall in a pool. Like he's like, dude, you got a freaking dart in your neck. Like another thing, just shut off your brain, enjoy it, but
Yeah,
also a very good story.
love it.
So number 8,
Wedding.
Old School for me.
Okay, number 8 for me. I'm going with a movie that when it came out, nobody was really expecting. Like nobody had any expectations going into it. There were high
Mm-hmm.
expectations because of who's in it, but nobody knew what the fuck they were getting into. And it's
Mm-hmm.
This Is the End.
Oh,
Because when
okay.
that came out, it was the whole Craig Robinson, it was James Franco, it was Seth Rogen, all of them literally playing themselves
Yeah.
in this situation.
You know what's so funny is like, how did we not expect anything out of that movie? Like,
I don't know.
because everyone, I'm with you. We just assumed it was probably
Okay.
not going to be that great. Maybe it wasn't a good trailer. Maybe that's it.
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
But the fact that Rihanna died in like the first 10 minutes, Rihanna's in it. And then we have Channing Tatum as like a boy slave to Danny
Yeah.
McBride in the
Yeah.
towards the end. We have Jonah Hill, who's so self-aware that he's making fun of himself being like this big Oscar star in the movie, which was
Yeah.
hilarious. And then he
Dude.
gets boned by a big demon with
Yeah. Yeah.
like what is
Dude,
going on in this movie? It's absolutely unreal.
my favorite premise or bit or whatever in that entire movie is a coked out Michael Cera. And he's he's like feeding for coke the whole time. Doesn't he slap Rihanna? Or no, he slaps
Yeah.
her on his ass. She slaps him in the face or something. Like the fact
Yeah.
that Michael Cera and Rihanna were on camera together and Michael Cera was supposed to be coked out and like some piece of shit dude is just hilarious. There's nothing that's not funny about that.
Oh, I know. And then, and then I feel like, oh, wait, who's Hermione Granger? Emma Watson was in it.
Yeah.
And she comes
Oh.
into the house just like swinging an axe at them. It's like, what is going on?
That's when people finally figured out. Well, I mean, that's when Emma Watson got old enough that people were like, "Wow, she's hot."
Yeah.
So
She
she kind of had that
became-
hot thing going on.
She became Emma Watson from there. She went from Hermione in this movie. I feel like this one appearance, she turned into, just from being in this psychotic rated R movie, she turned from Hermione Granger into Emma Watson that we know today.
Yeah, and honestly, shout out to Emma Watson because I think it might have even have had to do with her like personal life. So everyone knows how smart she is. Everyone knows. I think she went to Columbia and didn't.
She went to
want
Brown, I think, or Columbia.
Yeah, some really good school and didn't want the like movie star treatment. It's really hard for actors that are in really successful movies as children to get out of that role. But yeah, honestly, even though we just said Hermione Granger twice, but
yeah,
Emma Watson's Emma Watson.
But
she really is not
it's
Hermione.
hard to it's hard to differentiate them when you've kind of like we are basically the same age, if not a little younger. We grew up
Mm,
knowing her not as Emma Watson because you're so young. Like we grew up knowing her as Hermione Granger. Like us,
right.
she was Hermione Granger, just like
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe was Harry Potter. Like
Yeah.
you learn that at a later age, almost that it comes to you like, oh, that's Daniel Radcliffe, and then he was in
Mhm.
like the Human Swiss Army Knife or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's not Harry Potter. That's a dude who's an actor who's not like typecast into this
Sure.
wizard role.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know, I absolutely, I'm there with you on that. I totally agree, and that's what I'm saying with Emma Watson. I think she did a fantastic job about kind of
Absolutely.
after. Yeah.
She rebranded herself just like us.
I think that was the second rebrand like us joke that we had, but
Yeah.
moving on to
We're hammering it in. We're hammering it in.
oh yeah, yeah, just so everyone knows, rebranded.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 6, getting close to the top 5 here. My number 6 is something that I
Wait, you're on
believe
6?
might be.
Or are you on 7?
Just kidding. We're not moving on to number 6. We're moving on to number 7, which actually both I don't think for whatever reason we didn't think much of it at the beginning, so they were both kind of surprises. My number 7 is The Other Guys. Just an incredible,
That's higher in my list, but that's higher up for me, but it is amazing.
How about we move on? We'll talk about it when you get to it.
All right. We'll highlight. I have a lot to say about that movie. That movie's unreal. So for me, my number 7 is, and I mean, kicking and screaming. What can you say about this movie? Like Mike Ditka, Will Ferrell as Ditka. Yeah, pass the ball to the Italians. Like, what more is there?
I wonder how much of that is nostalgia for us, and I wonder how much, like, if we watched it again, would just be like, yeah, I remember, like Young Sung. Yeah, I mean that's
Son.
I want to say that's hilarious, but I also think that might be really funny just because
I don't know.
It was funny when we were kids.
I mean, absolutely. But I mean, this shit with Beyonce and Meet First.
The Meet First thing is hilarious.
They come to the game in the butcher's truck with blood all over them.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to do. We'll link this one up with another one that might be a little kids movie-ish when we're doing our deep dives. But this one, another one. I'm excited. I'm excited to rewatch this one to really see how it is.
Yeah. What do you got for number 6? You're on 6.
Number 6, I actually think this is also higher on your list, but something that for the life of me, and I honestly to the point where sure I should have looked this up, but I also think was a surprise, even though it shouldn't have been, Tropic Thunder. Tropic Thunder is another all-star cast. Is it higher on your list? Do you want to save it?
It's higher on my
Let's keep going.
All right.
So what's your number
6? Number 6 for me is Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, Bill Murray, it's a classic movie of, I mean, he's living the same day over and over again. And the scenes where it's just a montage of him, like, just offing himself in different ways to try and get out of the loop.
Just hilarious.
Unreal. Just like Toaster drives off a cliff, Toaster in the bathtub, like just waking up to the same song over and over and over again. I just think that premise before then was not unheard of, but it was the first that we've seen of like, you're repeating this day over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, it was absolutely, that was the first of a specific archetype where now it was actually the movie that I said I basically spoiled for you, the one episode, Palm Springs, the new Andy Samberg movie, follows the same thing. Another few movies do, but also that kind of is in a lot of people's running of best rom-com of all time. What do you think about that? I don't know. I mean, I guess we could look at the ones that are in front of Groundhog Day for you. If you have a rom-com, guess you wouldn't put it as number 1 of all time. But
no, I honestly don't have a rom-com higher. So I think for me,
So hey, best rom-com of all
comedy-wise,
time for you.
I think it's up there. The fact that it's just like an older, great classic Bill Murray movie that you can, I feel like once you've seen it, you can rewatch it as much as you want and it's still amazing.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, it's almost the prototype for modern, not rom-coms in the whole sense because it's such a specific kind of movie, but it has a basis that it still translates to today.
I think, yeah. And granted, there are really old ones that, again, I mean, I don't know about you. I think that you're probably the same as me. I haven't seen Philadelphia. I haven't seen.
I'm not going back to Casablanca here. I'm sticking to what I know.
So in terms of modern romantic comedies, I think this is the prototype. I think this is what you got to look at.
Yeah, I think so. What do you got at your number 5?
Number 5. So we're in the top 5 now, folks. My number 5. I love this movie. I have Borat. Sacha Baron Cohen, absolute classic.
Just a shock to the world when it came out. Nobody knew what was coming with that.
No, absolutely no one. And
the fake national anthem, the bull riding.
I mean, that's the thing. You would think you could never get away with it again, but here we are. Borat 2 is coming out soon. Can't believe that.
Is it actually?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
How does he, like, there's no way that there's people who don't know of the character.
I would agree, but apparently there are. Apparently there are enough that they made another full-length movie out of it.
I mean, he did convince a governor to say some weird shit when he was pretending to be like a soldier in another character. So I guess he can get away with whatever he wants. But Borat was like a huge movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, at least he had a different costume, and I think he had prosthetics on and everything for the senator thing.
Yeah,
it proves his skill. But like, when you're dressed up as Borat, you're dressed up as Borat. Like, yes, everyone knows that.
Driving around in an old ice cream truck, like nobody knows what that is.
Yeah, we'll save it for when you go, just to give some more value to it. But what's your number 5?
Number 5 for me is Role Models.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot.
Role Models.
You said Sean William Scott coming up.
Sean William Scott, Paul Rudd. We got McLovin and we got Marcus PSP. Who? You remember that commercial? Marcus PSP.
Marcus PSP.
Step your game up, Marcus PSP. He had a commercial, the kid in Role Models, that was for PSP a while ago, and I still remember it to this day. It's when the PSP first came out. But that movie is hilarious. And Keegan-Michael Key is in it for like 2 minutes. He has a super quotable line, which is just like, oh my God. And I just think that movie, in all its different aspects, just comes together so well for like a mid-2000s comedy where it's I mean, the LARPing combined with like them being sentenced to watch these kids, and it kind of all comes together. It's sort of a rom-com in a way, like he's trying to win. Paul Rudd's trying to win his girlfriend back and everything like that, proving he cares about kids. I just think it all works and it all comes together. I think it's a semi-slept-on comedy, and I think there's a lot of great bits in it. I think there's a lot of great stuff in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you were talking about the rom-com aspect of it. That's the only reason I know the song Beth by Kiss. Good song, by the way. Good song.
Great song.
But yeah, no, I mean, Paul Rudd, absolutely hilarious. Sean William Scott, fantastic in it because he's not doing – he kind of is doing the regular Sean William Scott thing.
Not really.
Yeah, a little bit that's different. The thing. He's redeemable, at least, in it.
Exactly.
And, yeah. Whereas I feel like a lot of his other stuff is just more crude. I mean, maybe I'm talking strictly about Stifler, but.
Well, I mean, I feel like that comes through in most of his stuff is just like there's a little bit of Stifler and everything. But in this, the Stifler is an older Stifler. It's almost like Stifler has almost matured a little bit more, and now he owns a home and has a mortgage.
Yeah, he's a wise Stifler. He's a suburban Stifler.
Exactly. He's not fucking anybody's mom in this one.
No.
Or no, his mom got fucked. Right?
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Who?
Yeah,
Schmidt?
somebody fucked Stifler's mom.
Was it Schmidt?
No,
is that
Schmidt
his name?
Was the guy who fucked the pie. I don't know.
speaking of that,
Either way, American
Pie,
Pie, honorable mention.
Honorable mention, because I love it. Okay, so for me, I don't know if it's exactly the best, but that is one of the more rewatchable movies of all time to me. I love rewatching American Pie.
Okay, Eugene Levy is the dad in that, and just being so uncomfortable the whole time. He's like, "All right, son, I know what you're doing," and he walks in on him jerking off like 1,200 times.
He's very good. Yeah,
he's great.
That is just like that's the original coming to age high school kind of movie. I can't get enough of it. I tend to like coming of age movies, even though I guess none are on my top 10. But I mean, you can't go better than that movie.
I know.
So number 5,
4.
I had Borat. Number 4, I'm gonna go rom-com, and I think you definitely would consider number 2 on my list to be more of a rom-com. So I don't know. To me, this at my number 4 is a true rom-com. Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's a basic bitch pick, but I mean, there's a reason for it.
See, like, that's where I draw the line, because I think it's not so much a basic bitch pick because it's so funny.
Right. That's the thing I think with people. That's the other thing everyone can probably tell at this point. We're not trying to be like, we're not trying to get we're obviously not trying to get a rise out of people, or we're not trying to take such a different, unique angle. These are just genuinely our favorite movies, or what we think are the best. And Forgetting Sarah Marshall, there's a reason everyone loves it. I mean,
I know.
Like, we keep talking about bits. I don't even necessarily know that there are that many bits in that movie, and it's just one cohesive piece of fantastic writing. Like, the only thing that I think you can say are bits are when they just inject Bill Murray in it. I said Bill Murray again. Bill Hader every now and then.
I know, and he's just.
I can't think. Yeah.
I see what you're doing. Oh, stop it! He's like, lift your head and go down a little further. Can you see me? Can you see me?
When he breaks into Peter's house, but when Jason Segal's like burning pictures of Sarah and the thing, and they have their confrontation, and it's just those two in the house, kind of earlier on in the morning before he convinces him to go to Hawaii. Just a hilarious scene. Like, those two going back and forth in that way is just incredible.
Even the opening where he opens up his his robe and she's like, "We're breaking up." It's like, oh.
And then you see his, I mean, obviously fake penis, but just him, I guess, we'll call that a bit. Him trying to get her back when he's naked, just standing there, is absolutely hilarious. just so
Russell.
Funny.
Okay, and Russell Brand throughout the whole thing is perfect.
Yes, I mean, I don't think he's acting. I think that's just Russell Brand. But
I think that, And then the little injections of Jonah Hill in there, like, all right, I'll go fuck myself. Like, one of the most quotable things of all time is like, oh, I'll just go fuck myself.
Went from 6 to. Oh no, I think you're talking about. I just went from 6 to midnight.
That, and then where he's like taking his order or something, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just go fuck myself."
Oh yeah. Jonah Hill, like, those limited roles are fantastic. I wouldn't say necessarily Russell Brand had a limited role, I guess, but you're right, just fantastic in that movie. Brings a lot of value. Ooh, best limited role kind of cameo type deal is Paul Rudd. He says he's the surf instructor.
The surfing
he's
instructor.
Konu.
How old would you say you are? I don't know. I don't really go by years, but if you had to, like 41.
Fuck. Says he's like, I stopped wearing a watch when I moved out here. He's like, oh, that's super cool. He's like, yeah, my cell phone tells the time. Something like that. So good. Just so an all-time Paul Rudd. I guess we can call it a cameo, even though he's in it a decent amount. But
yeah.
What's your number 4?
Number 4 for me is kind of it's a little different, but it's Death of Stalin.
Oh yeah, that's very recent, but I think
it's very recent. But I think just because number 1, the cast, and number 2, just how they went about it, I feel like every single person, whether it's Jeffrey Tambor or Steve Buscemi, they're all playing like. And the fact that, I mean, I knew a little bit of the history behind it and who played who and kind of the dealings they had, helped a little bit in understanding it and kind of making it even funnier to put these comedic faces and these actors to them playing, and having them have like one guy has a British accent and they're all playing these Russian, leaders and everything like that. And just
that's the other ridiculous thing is like, if they would have been doing bad Russian accents, it would have made it so goofy probably, but they were just like, no, screw it. Who cares? Just use your regular accents. Like Steve Buscemi sounds like Steve Buscemi.
He's just playing Steve Buscemi. Like, it doesn't even matter. Just that representation of how everything went down. I think it's almost a Tarantino-esque way of turning what actually happened into something that we can look at as hilarious. It's like what he did with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he spun it and then has Brad Pitt throwing cans of meat at like the Manson clan's face and smashing them into a window. It's like that little twist on history that just makes it so great.
Yeah. No, it honestly, to me, it almost seems like it's Tarantino without the plot twist. Like it's kind of like behind the scenes, like it would happen. It's basically the less dramatized version of it. It's the more realistic. This is probably actually how it went down, but obviously threw a ton of comedy in it. That's was a bright spot in the current climate we're in of a bunch of dark comedies, because that wasn't quite a dark comedy, but it kind of fit the bill. It wasn't like an early 2000s one, like basically all my list is. But I love the dark comedies. I probably don't, and that's why I appreciate that you put one in, because I think when I look back at my list, I've realized even if I think something's really funny, it needed to be during my childhood or at least a few years in the past. Like I was too afraid of recency bias, I guess.
I don't know. I saw this recently and I've watched it at least 3 times since then, just because I think I pick up on different things every time I watch it and I just can't stop. I mean, even there's a scene where they're all leaving right after Stalin died and they're all trying to get out because there's no phone. I mean, it's 1940s. They're all trying to get out of the driveway before one another to try and go scheme against each other. And there's a whole drum of the cars in the driveway, like, get out before this motherfucker, like, go.
Yeah. I think that was probably well, now that I'm thinking about it, might have been number 2 funniest part of the movie for me. I think the other first one was when they were at the funeral and they were trying to stand in, or I think it was Steve Buscemi was trying to stand. They're like all shuffling around.
They're like, switch with me. I got to tell him something. He's like, I don't want to switch with you. It's like, fucking switch with me right now. Yeah. And then they do the shuffle. He's like, why are you standing next to me? He's like, all right, switch back.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That movie is so good. That's another one. I've already said this. I'm excited to rewatch all these movies, of course, but that one I need to rewatch for sure.
It's right on Netflix. What's your number 3? Let's hit the top 3. I know yours are different than mine.
Okay, yeah. So my number 3, and again, I already said, we're not basic bitches, but this is just, some movies earn the right to be in people's top 3. And I think my top 3 probably looks similar to one that would probably be on like some blog post, but screw it. My number 3 is Anchorman. Anchorman, I think, has, if you want to talk about quotable movies and just lines, I mean, like a joke every minute movie, one after another. Will Ferrell at his best. Everyone else just random cameos, like Steve Carell in it as Brick. Just like everyone else in these small little roles, not even necessarily like an ensemble cast, but just such characterized, over-the-top people that are delivering such quality lines all the time. And that movie's full of bits too.
But I think what they did is there's people who are great at improvising comedically, and I think Steve Carell, from what we saw in The Office, is up there with top 5.
Oh yeah, Steve Carell is fantastic.
Paul Rudd is up there. I mean, too. Will Ferrell is up there. So when you put all of these guys in a room together, and you give them almost free reign to just riff with one another, that's where the great shit comes about. And it's like the quotes of like, it works 60% of the time, all the time. And like, Rick, where'd you get a hand grenade? He's like, I don't know. It's like he's running around like that was unreal.
That whole war scene is hilarious. The battle, but also Ben Stiller rolls in for a cameo during that.
Yeah.
This is the Spanish news. But also, the other really interesting thing about that movie is, although it's just so ridiculous and so full of bits, it speaks on feminism. Like it has Christina Applegate in there. Just it basically, and it's very in your face too. It's not like, I think that's the other thing I appreciate. It's not trying to be nuanced. Everything is over the top. It's in your face, but also it just flows so well that it's not overwhelming. Like it puts you in this world that's very hyperbolized in every sense of the word, but also it's just like, yeah, this used to happen. People used to think this way, which is ridiculous. And it kind of pokes fun at it, but also it doesn't just go super cheap with it.
Exactly. And it hits on it perfectly at a time. I feel like, when did it come out? Like 2006? 2004?
Let's see when it came out. 2004.
2004. It's just a good time for that kind of stuff. It's not like it's driving the message into you, but it's almost kind of highlighting it, just saying, hey, this is here, take what you will. I do think one of the best scenes in the entire movie, which is at the beginning, is when Jack Black comes in for like 12 seconds and just kicks the dog off the bridge.
Yeah. I mean,
he's like, what do you love?
Dude, he's like, when he throws his burrito.
Like
that
burrito,
whole part's so
You are
ridiculous.
good, but you are so filling. Just throws it out the window.
That's what I mean. It's love? Like, it's just full of bits and jokes like that. There was almost no reason to put that part in, other than Baxter coming back and saving him or whatever. But like, just having Jack Black in it in a random ridiculous role for like 10 seconds?
Yeah,
just hilarious.
Okay,
just
I'm
so
in a glass case of emotion is one of the best lines of all time.
Yeah. And that's Will Ferrell at his finest. Like, yeah, that's just him going for it, and it just going perfectly.
It all hit. Everything hit.
No doubt about that.
And that's going into my number 3, which is The Other Guys. For me, you mentioned it earlier.
Now
The Other Guys. Yeah. Okay, starting off, like, this starting scenes in all of these movies have been unreal, but aim for the bushes. In like the first 10 minutes where just The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson jump off a roof.
Yeah. I was watching that. So because this is something that somehow flew under a lot of people's radars. And I kind of forget if we mentioned that when I said it before, like, we didn't know how it was going to be. Somehow people just haven't watched this movie or haven't given it the true credit it deserves. And so the fitness instructor, one day I told her, I was like, I want to watch a comedy. I came across The Other Guys, and I'm pretty sure she hadn't watched it. I don't think I've ever heard her laugh harder than that part where they say aim for the bushes and like the music kicks in and she just die. And so she started laughing, and then she was like, so what happened? I was like, they died.
They died.
Exactly what you saw.
It's that, and
so good.
Will Ferrell's character, you find out throughout, is just like this ladies' man who was a pimp. And a line that I still say to this day is,
God,
"Haters bitches better be wearing jimmies."
Haters bitches better be wearing jimmies. That whole reveal, like, that should have been so stupid, and it should not have worked, just because it's so ridiculous that he would be a pimp. But the way that they gradually play up to it. Yeah. Like they give you a little piece and they're just like, oh, so-and-so. He's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. And then you keep getting a few more pieces until it just flashes back to him.
Yeah, I know.
When it's Will Ferrell with the grills in and he has the gun up to his head and he's like crying. Just that shot alone, no words are needed. It just a hilarious premise.
Oh my God, wait. The part where he's in the guy's house and he's like, I want you to fuck my wife. Please.
Oh, yeah.
That's running after the car. Fuck my wife. Why won't you fuck my wife?
That's the best part of the movie. Who was that? Oh my goodness. He's hilarious too.
I think he's the dude who plays Psychowitz in Victorious. And I don't know why.
It's Brett Gelman.
Yep.
Brett
He's either
Gelman.
CIA operative or he's Psychowitz.
Yeah, all I remember from it is so damn funny. The whole scene when he's in there, he's just posted up like what does he say, like something about iced teas? Like there's a hilarious line in there about iced teas that when we deep dive into this, I'm going to analyze that scene because that is one of my favorite scenes, I think, in all of comedies, let alone this movie.
And Mark Wahlberg shooting Derek Jeter. It's just an undertone in the movie. It's just like something that people forget about, that Mark Wahlberg just shoots Derek Jeter.
It's brought up every now and then though, which brings it so much comedic value. It'll just randomly, like, you don't know
Isn't
who
that
he
the guy who
shoots,
shot Jeter?
Yeah. Them quoting don't go chasing waterfalls at the end.
Little River Band.
Little River Band. He just keeps quoting Little River Band.
It's just an unbelievable movie. What do you have at 2?
All right, number 2. This is the one I said definitely is a rom-com, but I consider Forgetting Sarah Marshall like a true rom-com. Number 2. It might even be my number 1. I think it's like a 1A, 1B, 40-Year-Old Virgin. I mean,
so good.
In my opinion, I mean, obviously, I guess one more I think might get better than that, but it is just, it's a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie. The cast is incredible the whole time. Even like you have Seth Rogen pretty early on in his career, and he is hilarious with a kind of limited role, like that whole
a warehouse guy.
Yeah. So you have Steve Carell, Paul Rudd, Romany Malco, Seth Rogen. I think I might have butchered that guy's name, by the way. But just the funniest aspect of just how 4 people would actually be, and then the fact that, and I want to talk about this more when we break
that he got waxed.
That we'll definitely talk about. But something that I didn't really know is that this whole movie only happened because Steve Carell used to have a Second City recurring skit where he would be this virgin, and the whole thing that Apatow was like, yes, we need to make this movie, apparently was because he heard the bags of sand thing. So, when they're playing poker.
Oh my God. Wait, really?
It was just a skit. Yeah. And then they decided to make the movie out of it. They were like, this is perfect. So it was like Steve Carell would be playing poker with his friends, and then like all of a sudden they would figure out that he was a virgin still at 40. And it was because he would say the bags of sand thing, or just like, other funny things like that. But they have that scene in the movie, which I think is so interesting.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that it was just like, oh, they're like bags of sand. It's like, what? What do you mean?
That's like that's probably so there's a little taste of probably what we'll talk about, everyone, in terms of our deep dives. Little nuggets like that. That was probably too into the weeds.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's because it's so good. There's not much I can add. I mean, writing, acting, directing, everything, just incredible.
My number 2 is Borat. We already mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's a near perfect movie.
Absolutely.
Because it's just real. It's just, there's actors, but the fact that like when he's throwing the dollar bills at the floor and saying they have changed shape.
That's the absolute best part. I mean, granted, it's because that was
how
the
much
only time
do they want?
Yeah, it was like the only time that he wasn't really just trying to play people, and that was the comedic value. That was just straight up filming. But like the Jews have taken form.
Like we need to get down to
it's so funny that the fact that they were able to do what they did, even though it was early on and no one knew who Sacha Baron Cohen was. No one was really doing stuff like that other than, I mean, I guess prank shows were a thing, but what are you going to compare Punk to this?
Yeah, like what'd you have? Punk, you had that, and you had like nothing else. So for a guy to like take on this role, nobody, like, that's unheard of before this.
And you know what's funny is it's still unheard of because it's so hard to do. It's so difficult that he created an entire genre And he's the only one in it still.
He's
the only one doing it.
Guy who can do it, because nobody else has that. They can't stay in character for that long and commit while people are either so mad at him or they're just so uncomfortable by the scenario, or even today, because you have to ask people to like sign shit and all of that stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, it was a joke. It was a joke. Like, I feel like he did this, and I don't know what the process was, but maybe he told them it was like a documentary or something, like a real documentary, got him to sign stuff, but he just played it off like that was his real personality. Like, he was real.
Yeah. That's how they got it in the beginning, you know, with the how to tell a joke, that thing, or how to have a conversation in America. And this suit is black, not that scene.
Oh, this suit is black, not.
That's they were telling people it was a documentary, and the driving instructor. Like, that movie is just full of fantastic premises and bits that it really, in terms of, again, I think you can consider it a specific genre that only he really does. It's perfect.
He owns and will own for a very, very long time.
I don't know anyone else who can do anything like that.
Or even attempt it.
No.
What's your number one? We got to hear it.
All right. Number one of all time. And this is when I definitely think people will, I think this is pretty common. My number one of all time, and I think it's undisputed, is Superbad. I mean, Superbad, in my opinion, is the perfect movie. Actually, I guess it's technically a coming of age movie. I said I didn't have any on my list before, but number one is my favorite coming of age movie of all time. I mean, they just worked on this script for 15 years. Like, they started when they were 15 or something and ended up graduating high school. So it ended up changing and evolving. And I think only something that takes that much time and that much attention can produce a script like this. And also the acting, they were just perfect. Jonah Hill was perfect for this role.
Okay, even the guy, when I went back and watched recently, because this is something you have to watch, I feel like either every year or every 2 years, just to see it again.
Absolutely.
There's a guy, I don't know his name. He's in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's like the second lead in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's the guy who hits them with his car.
You look like Jimmy's brother, man. You clearly look like Jimmy's brother.
He's like the tweaker who hits them with his car, and just seeing that and bringing him, because until then you just think of him as like this crazy dude who hits somebody with their car, and you're like, oh fuck, it's a real actor. Because in that movie, you're so in that movie, in that mind space of just thinking that it's real, because it's so true to form and true to like we were just talking about before, hiding booze when you were younger. This is an exact representation of what kids go through when they're that age and they're trying to be cool. They're trying to fit in. They're trying to get girls. And then to have all this happen, it's almost like you're kind of living it with them. And then there's the little tidbits of like him getting a McLovin ID. Like, we all know an idiot that got like an ID that we know is not going to work.
Yeah.
And they got it for the value. Like, that's hilarious.
It's all so it's also relatable, but not in like I keep saying cheap, but like it's not relatable to be relatable. It's relatable because they were writing the script while that kind of stuff was happening. Like, it literally progressed throughout their lives, and they were just doing the same thing everyone else was doing. So it was fantastic. That guy's name, by the way, was Joe Lo Truglio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. He was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And also he played a guy in Role Models. He was one of the LARPers. He was
Oh my God, he was the king. He was the king in Role Models.
Was he the No, I thought that Ken Jeong was the king.
Oh no, he was Ken Jeong was the king, you're right. He was
Kuzik. He was Oh wait. I got to ask his lines right here. You ready for me to read the quotes? I'll do it in his voice because that's the only way you're going to get to know it. He's the one that goes, "Rub-a-dub-dub."
Oh my.
Diana has put away her bosom. Apollo has lifted his skirt. The day has been launched. This is one of the better lines. I'm just reading this, and now this whole movie is like coming back to me. It's let's get ready to dance with swords.
See, I mean, it is a great movie. And then
It's fantastic.
there's McLovin saying, "My mother is not a whore," and running at.
Yeah. So good. Just so good. Oh, that's so funny seeing these people that are they're such good comedic actors, even if they have little lines to work with. Because the fact
that's why these movies work so well.
Yeah. Like that we can know Joe Latruglio was like, dude, you totally look like Jimmy's brother. Like for some reason, I bet even if people were just kind of fair weather fans of Superbad, they would know that if you would say, hey, who does he look like? They would say Jimmy's brother.
Yeah.
That's how you know you have a great movie on your hands.
Jimmy's brother.
Yeah. And then also, dude, Bill Hader and Seth Rogen as the officers just
letting him shoot a gun. He's like, dude, we knew you were underage the whole time. Like, when...
Yeah. You could not pick, and granted, I mean, Seth Rogen wrote the movie with his partner. So I always think that's cool when they kind of can link each other in. But having Bill Hader there too,
he's such he's like, when they're interviewing her about the guy who robbed the store, and they're like, was he like us? Or
was he like us?
She's like, Jewish? He's like, no.
But their whole thing, like, you would just assume everything was covered in semen. It'd be so much easier if it was. But yeah, Michael Cera in that too. I mean, every repeat actor in this just so good. Emma Stone in this is also very good, which before we give our actual honorable mentions, because I wouldn't have put this on my list, but something I think got overlooked, Easy A. Easy A is a good movie. I think it was insanely well written. Like the dad, when she has her black brother, and someone says something about being adopted, or the kid actually says something about being adopted, and the dad goes, "Oh, what? Who told you?" So clearly he's black. That's like, there is a lot in that movie that's very good, and I think it's based on that book or whatever, which makes it very innovative in its own right.
Yeah,
but
so good.
That was Easy
number
A.
one.
Let's get to your number one. What's
my number one? We touched on it before. It's Tropic Thunder. Just for everything that comes together. One. Everything that comes together. Robert Downey Jr. playing an Australian who's playing a black man, and the one line where he's like, "It's like, you people. What do you mean, you people?" That just
Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Dude, his whole thing about being gay but not being gay. Like, so Tropic Thunder had so much impact on me. I'm shocked that I put it at number 6, because I totally respect you putting it at number 1. So funny. Speaking of Al Pacino, you should realize how much I love this movie by the fact that my brothers and my gamer tag on Xbox when we were kids was Drink Booty Sweat. It was straight up Drink Booty Sweat from Al Pacino. And then the best person in the entire movie, I think, is Tom Cruise.
Les Grossman.
Lex Grossman is the agent.
And Matthew McConaughey is his agent, and Les Grossman is the owner of the studio.
Matthew McConaughey playing Wii tennis is hilarious. So he's on the phone talking to Tug, playing Wii tennis. Yeah. For some reason, gets me. And then Tom Cruise, his random outbursts, screaming Diet Coke, and when he's on the phone with like, Flaming Dragon.
Who is this? Flaming Dragon. He's like, I don't give a fuck who you are. You get my boy TiVo, or I'm gonna. Comes into the chopper, throws the T. Dude, when Ben Stiller's running back, he's like, I need to stay with my son, and then he's running back to the helicopter, and the little kid's stabbing him in the back.
He throws him off of the bridge.
Unreal. And then the first, like, when the guy blows up, the director blows up, and Ben Stiller's like, no, dude, this is all props, and starts licking the stuff.
Everyone's grossed out. Yeah, Tropic Thunder. Absolutely
Jack Black,
fantastic
Robert
movie.
Downey Jr., Ben Stiller, like that. Can't get better than that. But
No.
I mean, that movie was just a great, like that has to be my number one just because of everything that's in it. Everything.
Yeah. I'm not confident. I'm not quite confident about the order I have some of these these top 10, but I am very confident that they are my top 10.
I'm confident in everything we listed.
Yeah. So how about we'll run through our top 10s and then we'll do some honorable mentions that we didn't mention before.
Yeah.
Just real quick, my 10 through 1, 10, Pineapple Express, 9, Hot Rod, 8, Old School, 7, The Other Guys, 6, Tropic Thunder. Now I think it should be higher. 5, Borat, 4, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, 3, Anchorman, 2, 40-Year-Old Virgin, 1, Superbad.
All right. Top 10, 10, Princess Bride, 9, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 8, This Is the End, 7, Kicking and Screaming, 6, Groundhog Day, 5, Role Models, 4, Death of Stalin, 3, The Other Guys, 2, Borat, and 1 is Tropic Thunder.
All right, so there are top 10s. So I'll start out with because I put 16 to it actually. So I'll just give 6 honorable mentions.
Go for it. I got a couple in there too.
So my number 11, I struggle. Because I think it's funny. I don't quite think it's a true comedy like the rest on my list, but Zombieland. Zombieland, I think, is fantastic.
It's so good. Woody Harrelson, oh my God.
Yeah, and then Bill Murray has a huge comedic role in it. Zombieland, in my opinion, at least obviously just in terms of when I was growing up, Zombieland was the first movie I saw and was like, that is really cool what they did with the movie, with the story, with the editing. It was really the first thing I saw and was like, wow, I really like this good stuff, not just, the goofy stuff.
That was my first intro into like a real, I think it was R-rated or like real, like kind of adult movie in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it to this day. Jesse Eisenberg is a slept-on comedic actor. I feel like he's got a great straight face. He's got great delivery. I mean, Emma Stone is in it. Unreal. Just the whole movie itself, the concept was something that was unbelievable. Like a comedy set into zombie apocalypse is great. They're driving a Hummer around. Unreal.
Yeah, the concept is it's fantastic because it's something that's, one of the most done concepts in all of movie history, but they did a successful. So Shaun of the Dead absolutely did it before that. And speaking of that, Shaun of the Dead, honorable mention.
Damn, fuck.
Love Shaun of the Dead. Honestly, I might have missed that from my top 10.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like they did what Shaun of the Dead did. Like they did it very differently. I think they did it super well. So yeah, Zombieland, honorable mention. What about your next one?
Honorable mention for me from here is going to go Idiocracy.
Okay.
Just because
I got to admit, it's in my blind spot.
Dumb funny. But it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's Luke Wilson and it's Terry Crews, and basically a guy super average guy gets frozen in time, transported to the future, and he goes from being very average to the smartest man on earth. And there's some quotes in there that I remember to this day that are just like, they're feeding the plants Gatorade kind of stuff, and all the advertising, the world's like breaking down, and it's like, electrolytes, it's what the plants need. And they're like, what are you feeding these plants? They're like, oh, it's like this electrolyte solution. He's like, why don't you give them water? He's like, you mean the stuff from the toilets? It's like, it's like, why would we put the toilet stuff on the plants? It's just, the whole movie is so dumb. It's so funny.
Oh, you gotta love those movies. I think the one I love most, and this is definitely a product of exactly in my childhood, like nostalgia. We don't need to touch on this much. This isn't one of my official honorable mentions, but just dumb funny is turn your mind off and laugh is Meet the Spartans for me. One of the many horrible spoof movies. If you want to think about a good one,
huge like up in spoof movies between I feel like 2006 and 2009. Spoof
And they were
movies
awful.
like Movie 43, Meet the Spartans. There was a
Vampires
Twilight
suck.
one. Yep, Vampire
Yeah.
suck.
So the funny thing about spoof movies is Scary Movie, which we weren't around for when it hit the market and actually were around to make an analysis of it or whatever. But Scary Movie was a good movie. Like Scary Movie was good, and people were just like, "Oh, let's start doing these." But Scary Movie was the only good one. Debatably, there were a few good ones in that franchise, but you just can't.
There's none you rewatch. There's none that you rewatch.
No. So my number 12 honorable mention, I have Caddyshack. I mean, Caddyshack was so close to being on my top 10, but I moved it out with some of the other stuff. It was actually originally in my top 10. I moved it out. Just so many memorable lines, so many interesting stories from that movie, which I think a lot of people already know about.
Coke
so it might
the whole time.
Oh,
the whole time.
Coke,
and that's
Ronnie
on the
Dangerfield
same level with Animal House. I have as my next one too. Those two I feel like are on the same page, same wavelength. Like they're both similar times.
Yeah.
Belushi just absolutely stole the show. I think somebody said he had 12 lines in the whole movie. And the fact that you do what you do with 12 lines in the entire movie, and you're literally like, people still buy your posters to this day.
Belushi was probably so bombed during it, he couldn't get out more than 12 lines.
Guaranteed. But people put his poster up to this day.
Yeah. My number 13, I have Juno. So kind of came out during our childhood. Probably was a little ahead of my time, but I thought it was the first, and honestly, maybe there's a lot of nostalgia to play here, but I do think it was done super well. I think it was the first one of my dark comedy experiences that I really enjoyed. It was probably the first dark comedy experience I had, but I thought it had a lot of heart. I thought it had, one of those quirkiness, Michael Cera being Michael Cera, like, a Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist kind of thing. I like those kind of, I'd call it quirky. I don't know. Those quirky movies. Juno stood out to me. I saw it when I was very young, but really, really enjoyable movie. Had a lot of heart, had some funny moments, but regular old dark comedy, which I like.
Love it. I haven't actually seen Juno in forever. I don't think I remember seeing.
I don't think I have either.
I gotta rewatch that.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a Juno episode then. We'll do a rewatch.
Juno. My next one is, I think, slept on a little bit, but it's Tommy Boy.
You think that's slept on? Well, I guess it depends on who you ask, because I think if you have parents that like comedy, I mean, I think Tommy Boy deserves to be in a lot of people's top tens. It's personally not on mine, but I love that movie.
Fat guy in a little coat. I don't know. I mean, I just grew up in a house where, like, I got a little fat at a time, and I wore a suit jacket. Like, I tried one on that was too big a little like one time. And my dad, I just remember saying, like, fat guy.
Oh, yeah.
Little...
That line was meant to be used by, like, everyone. Yeah. That was such a perfect line to use.
On the same plane, too, as, like, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I feel like that's on the same level. I feel like that should be mentioned, whenever comedy movies come up. It's a little older. I mean, it's a classic, though.
Black Sheep. You ever get into that? Pretty decent one.
No, actually.
I was another Spade one. I think it was the Spade Farley one, actually. I think the thing is, it wasn't as good as Tommy Boy, so it got overlooked. It was a political comedy. Pretty good.
Black Sheep.
Yeah, I just throwing it out there.
It is Farley and Spade.
Yeah.
Fred Wolf too.
Yeah. So maybe we'll look for ones that people overlooked, because my number 14 definitely was not overlooked, but I even think it probably got, I think it's underrated just because I don't think it gets talked about as much as the best ones. And granted, I have it at number 14. So, I didn't really take my 11 through 16. Right. And I didn't take it like too seriously. So it could easily be my number 11 or whatever, but that's Zoolander. There are so many funny parts of Zoolander. It's just unreal. Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, like
Like,
we have
what is
Will
it called?
Ferrell
His
being the
look,
Prince of Malaysia, Blue Steel.
Blue Steel.
Like
That's it.
the fact that you can make a movie about male models funny is
Just the gas
it's a
fight.
testament
The
to its own
gas
right.
fight is like all you need.
Jitterbug. They're just like
just rage.
It's so funny. Yeah, but like Ben Stiller's hilarious in that. Will Ferrell's hilarious as Mugatu. I mean, the whole premise of it that Mugatu's
it's just insane.
Like getting brainwashed. Yeah, that's so fun. Owen Wilson's fantastic in that too.
Guys,
do you have a?
Well, I was going to say off that, I'm rethinking, but I mean, I'm going to mention Starsky and Hutch when that comes up, when Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller get mentioned. Starsky and Hutch is a great movie.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it.
Starsky and Hutch is hilarious.
Jack and Coke, do it. Do it.
Do it. Do it.
But my next one was actually The Disaster Artist. Just because I've seen the movie The Room. And
did you watch it before or after?
So I watched it after, but I felt like I love the concept so much after watching the movie and then before watching, The Disaster Artist, that it's a perfect play on exactly what happened. And the fact that James Franco went so far in promoting the movie that he put his, because Tommy Wiseau, when he was promoting The Room, because he rented out theaters and everything, the story behind it was is insane. He put one billboard up and put his real phone number on there for people to call and talk to him about the movie. For the real guy who made The Room. So and he's like, "It's Tommy, hello." So when and he still says he's from Arkansas, which there's so much backstory to this guy, Tommy. He says he's from Arkansas. He's from Lithuania or something. He's like, I'm from New Orleans. I grew up in New Orleans. It's like, Tommy, you didn't, but okay. James Franco went so far in promoting this movie and being this character that he put his phone number up on the billboard, like a burner phone, and people
James
would
Franco's
call.
A crazy person.
And he's like, "Hello, it's Tommy. How you doing?" And they're like, "Is this James?" He's like, "No, it's Tommy. What you mean, silly?" He would just have these full conversations with people. And he went on Howard Stern. He's like, yeah, I've been having conversations with these people. He went on Howard Stern with Tommy Wiseau, which is hilarious. And it just made the whole movie, and the absurdity of Tommy Wiseau made me love the movie even more. So that's why it got propelled into the spot that it's in, just because of all of this background information of it coming together and just the absurdity of the actual person. And then the movie itself just all comes together.
No, yeah. I mean, I think it deserved more credit than it got. I think maybe a lot of people were like, I don't really feel like watching a movie about a movie, but it was a story that needed to be told because it was just preposterous, and it was done really well too, as really you would expect with Franco. Because I mean, that guy's got to screw loose, man. I love him, but he's got to screw loose.
I know.
So my number 15
Let's go last ones, 15.
Last one of them. I might have to. We keep just bringing stuff up. We've mentioned 40 movies now. So my number 15, and I honestly am throwing this in here just because it's a freaking hilarious movie, extremely good, and I think people would look at our top 10 list and say it's glaringly obvious that one has missed out, and that's Step Brothers. So Step Brothers. It's unfair for me to put it at 15 because I know it should be above 15, but my problem with Step Brothers is that when we grew up, it was really funny to quote Step Brothers lines. And for some reason, people still think it's very funny to quote Step Brothers lines because that means it's quotable. That means it's a really good movie. But for whatever reason, I think we were in the exact age where it's just gotten so old to the point where it's now taken away from the movie completely from me.
Yeah, and I feel like if I hear too much more room for activities one more time, like when somebody moves a couch, it's like
it's even old people and
You've
stuff.
You've seen the movie, we get it. But the movie when it came out, did you put your balls on my drum set? That shit was hilarious.
And I think it was because we were the perfect age for it. That's when we were 14 something. We could watch it, we could quote it all the time. it was the perfect age for a fantastic, funny movie.
And there was a
But-
song.
Oh, I mean, dude,
I'll
him
do you in
singing
the
at end
bottom
is
while we're drinking
hilarious.
sangria.
Oh, yeah, that song. I thought you were saying
And
when
the
Will
Ave
Ferrell
Maria.
started doing
Yeah.
yeah. The other I think the funniest part of that whole movie is at the end when Will Ferrell's like they're going through the fantasy scene of Will Ferrell's lumberjack with his therapist.
Yeah.
He's like, I've traveled 1,000 miles to give you my seed. And the kid gets so overlooked. Like,
just the
I
joke
think it's
throughout
so
of
good.
like, I'm the songbird of a generation. Oh, they say he's the songbird of his generation. He's like,
See, that's
Adam
another one.
Scott in that
I've heard
is
that too much.
great too.
Adam Scott's incredible in that. He
He's
is
great
another
in everything,
fantastic
honestly,
improviser.
that he does. Yeah.
He's so good at improvising. Apparently, that's what
Parks
I've heard
and
about him
Rec,
is-
he's amazing.
yeah.
But my last pick, I'm going to go with another movie that should have been higher, but we're inundated with the quotes and everything like that, which is Talladega Nights.
Yep. Talladega Nights was my 16. I'm glad you said it because I needed to say it. I was
It
looking at
needed
I
to
was
be
like, I
mentioned.
gotta say this.
I saw it in theaters when I was probably 10. We snuck in. And it was the funniest
Really?
thing I've ever seen then, and it gets funnier every time I see it. Yeah, we had to sneak in. Like our parents bought us tickets to another movie. We walked in and we just sat and saw it.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's a solid.
that's how you do it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Talladega
Didn't
Nights.
get half the
absolutely
jokes, but it
hilarious.
was so good.
Yeah. Sweet baby Jesus.
I like
So
everybody to
good.
know. Like when he's wearing the Jesus, like the tuxedo shirt, he's like, "I like my
Yeah.
Jesus in the tuxedo shirt." Because he means
singing,
business, but he also likes to party.
He's lead singing for Leonard Skinner.
We threw Chip's war medals off the bridge.
And then who comes in? The French the French driver who's gay.
Sacha
just
Baron
adds-
Cohen.
Yeah. That I was thinking of his actual name, but whatever.
Oh.
The movie name. But him coming in, being gay, and them finding out about it is just hilarious. Like it's
Jean Girard.
John. That's right. It's just something so ridiculously French.
I will break your arm, Ricky Booby.
They handle that in such a funny way. Like these Southern NASCAR drivers with a French gay person beating them.
So good.
It's so funny. I
We
think
can do this all day, but we'll do it next
A
week.
lot of movies. We will do it next week. We don't know yet. We'll have to talk this week. We're gonna rewatch every single movie we have. We're gonna take notes. We're gonna hopefully bring some unique, fresh ideas. We're gonna try our best to, maybe not follow the same guidelines every single time, but we'll probably see what works. We'll probably see what people are interested in to talk about.
Yeah.
And then, we're excited, but
I'm hyped. Yeah. I'm ready to go.
that was a lot of movie talk. I hope everyone was interested in it. Send us your top 10s. Let us know, because I have a weird feling we egregiously miss out on some.
We probably miss
even
a lot.
though between
we had some
both of us,
fucking great movies. Great movies.
Between both of us, we probably mentioned around 28 movies or so.
Yeah. Well, just the ones that we threw in there here and
Yeah.
I feel like we mentioned a lot of good ones.
Yeah. So, send us your top 10 lists. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what you want us to talk about first. Maybe we can start a little schedule. We're thinking, at least with some of them, I honestly think Superbad could get its own episode.
Absolutely.
Things like that. Other than those few that really we could talk about a lot, we'll probably group some up together. Another thing we're thinking about doing is, say around Halloween, we do kind of a Halloween themed one. Stay up with the times.
Keep it seasonal.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, we're excited for it. Until then, I'm Kevin.
I'm Winnie.
We'll see you at the next episode. Yeah, go watch some movies.